Hello and welcome. This Indian director says he makes movies not to educate, but to gratify. His highly popular films are controversial, and he makes no apologies for it. This week on One on One, meet the maverick Bollywood director and producer, Mahesh Bhatt. For over 3 decades, he's made films that push the limits of India's film industry, Bollywood. But Mahesh Bhatt has no problem with controversy. In fact, he says he's always had a tendency to provoke people. Born out of wedlock to a Muslim mother and Hindu father, Bhatt faced taunts as a young child. While he had little interest in school, he did realize early on that he had a gift for storytelling, which led him to a career in filmmaking. As a young man, he experimented with drugs, chased women, and had affairs, but eventually rebuilt his life and made movies based on those turbulent experiences. His cutting-edge work has created many Bollywood stars and earned him a no-nonsense reputation. And Mahesh Bhatt has no plans to conform anytime soon. Mahesh Bhatt, you've made some very controversial films. Do you set out to be controversial, or is it just for the attention? What is it?
Well, I've been accused very often for doing everything in the book to grab attention. Assuming for a moment I do that. Let me not be apologetic about it, because I'm in the attention-grabbing business. And everybody does everything to grab attention. And I'm in the show business. But having said that, you couldn't possibly run your life on just one philosophy, grab attention. Perhaps I was born with that tendency in me to provoke people. And when I look back to the mist of time, I discovered that even when I was in school, there was something in me which kind of abhorred authority of any kind. And I think it all kind of emanates from there.
Now, it's very unusual for an Indian to speak their mind so, abrasively sometimes.
You said it. I think because there is this pathological kind of drive in Indians to conform, to be seen as politically correct. A guy who is just speaking his heart seems like an oddball. And yes, dissent is a lonely street to walk on, and in India even more so, because the animal need to be in a herd seems to be what keeps the Indians together. And if you're an animal who is daring to walk alone, you obviously are vulnerable. And not many can deal with the psychological stress of being alone and on your own.
There's an irony in that the Indian film industry, Bollywood, is geared for the herd, geared for the masses. So how can you fit in if you're really outside the herd? How can you sustain?
As I get deeper into what is called life, I discovered that you can be in the world and still not belong to that world. I've always looked back, when I look back, I've always seen that I was a kind of an outsider. I told stories to make a living, and I told them stories the way they wanted to hear them. I amused them with what amused them. And not always did I necessarily believe in the tales I told, because I discovered that if you want mass success, you have to endorse, perpetuate, and defend the value system that they pretend to actually worship, but actually don't follow.
So you admit, to some degree, you do conform to meet that appeal?
Yes, I tell stories according to market specifications. It is always the culture, the market that you are in that decides the products that you manufacture. But within the parameters of those, the given, you do try and put in your obsession, if you may have one, and that gives it the zing, makes it sparkle.
Do you see films as a vehicle purely for entertainment, or do you see them particularly for social commentary?
Well, Bollywood, to which I belong, is an illusion manufacturing business. It's not in the reality capturing game. So while we may claim to ourselves that, look, our products are really different from those escapist fare, the truth is that we tell bearable truths. And I think that's the role of stories anywhere in the world. It's to, they provide you that comfort. They are ice packs, spiritual pethidrines for the times that we live in.
Now, you've been quoted as saying, I'm not looking for praise, I'm looking for money, be it by fair or foul means. What are foul means?
Well, I know that particular statement of mine was taken out of context and reproduced by a very reputable newspaper whose creed is actually what it is pretending to condemn. Well, what I meant foul means is that there is a kind of held back attitude in these times of people in my fraternity who feel that they should do things which are, looked upon by the world as the right ways of doing things. For example, when I made a film called Murder, I told the leading lady that, look, you're going to sit down there and tell the world that, yes, I'm here to titillate. My movie is gratify you. We make movies not to edify but to gratify, because we are in the gratification business. I'm closer to a snake charmer. I'm closer to a circus clown. I'm not a pandit. Now, these are the statements which are considered foul by the market, which believes that, no, we must claim to ourselves and then to the world that we are actually catering to the soul and not to the body.
Now, let me take you through your childhood. You were from a film family, so to speak. You had early exposure to the industry. Was it a natural that you'd go into this line?
No, I was a low-grade moron. I couldn't go through my school with good numbers, and I discovered that I had this capacity to shape images in my mind and do things with the raw material that call life, and kind of make interesting pictures and sounds. And
What age did you realize that?
I was very young. I must be 8, 9, and I think I discovered this, that I also had a capacity to hum and sing. And when I failed in my school, I discovered that the only tool that would see me through life would be perhaps storytelling. One of my childhood memories is I was in the 5th standard, and we were just at the end of the day, and the teacher said that, could anybody tell a story? We just got 5 minutes, or just 2 minutes before the bell rings, and there was this hush there, and I raised my hand and just, okay, you. And I walked up, and I discovered that I was walking up that I actually didn't have a story to tell. What I wanted was to get there on the stage and have people look at me. And I went there and I struggled to come up with the first sentence, and I discovered that a billboard flashed through my memory, and it was 20,000 leagues under the sea. And I sat there with all the animation, and there was this kind of in the classroom. And I did not know, I had not seen the movie. Fortunately for me, the bell rang and I was saved. And then I discovered that the early films that I made were exactly like that. But that time, no bell rang. The audience came in and I had no story to tell. Till life broke me. I got married and I had an extramarital affair, and I was scarred and bruised and battered. And a storyteller comes into his craft by being shattered by life in some way. And only when I learned the language of grief did I have a story. And that's when I was born as a filmmaker.
Interestingly enough, a lot of people say your work has a strong autobiographical element in it. Is that actually true? Is that streak in there, or is it that you want people to think you have a colorful life?
No, I had a rather unusual life. I come from a home where there was the pluralism that India boasts about was a living reality. I came from a Shia Muslim mother and a Hindu Brahmin father, and they were not married. So we were not a normal household. My dad was not there. And though we were told to tell people that my dad is away on a shooting, because I discovered when I was very little that the people manipulate you from what you hide. And we were told to hide this fact. And then the neighboring kids would have fun at our costs. Till one day I said, look, my dad doesn't stay with us. My mother's not married to my daddy and he lives with somebody else. I got a walloping of my life that day from my mother, but I was free. And I discovered that you are what you hide. And the moment I look at when I was struggling to find a story, all I had to do was look into my life, and I discovered there were interesting stories there. And when you tell the story of your life, it has the pulse, the throb, the beat, the vitality, the resonance that works of imagination do not have. But to say that every scene of what is called autobiographical is an exact replay is absurd. It has got the emotional truth. It has the the situation is authentic, but there is a certain amount of fictional element in it. Let's call it, it's fiction or fact.
Mahesh Bhatt, don't go away. We're watching One on One, and we'll be back with Mahesh Bhatt in just a moment.